Welcome back to another episode of Geek'd Up Bets. I'm Joe DeLeone, and with me is Joe Ceraulo, another Joe, here to talk about the MLB season starting up very, very soon. Joe Ceraulo, a betting analyst for VSiN and CBS Sports, also an Italian former college baseball player. I know damn well that you were rooting harder for Italy than you were for the U.S. I just
not even close. Not even a contest. I'm not even hiding. All right, look, Joe, I'll be completely honest. A little piece of me was rooting for the Dominican on Sunday just because that is the most fun team. Look, not to, and this can go down this whole like anti-patriot rabbit hole, right? Let's just call it what it is. Team USA had the least amount of swag in the tournament. Yeah. They were not having fun. They did not have any swag. I mean, they were auraless. They were personality-less. Like Team Dominican Republic, it was like Soto, Placata, Tatis, Placata, Vladdy, Placata. I mean, Italy is taking espresso shots. Like I got my homemade espresso right here. I got like a quadruple shot in here because I'm ready to bring the energy to this show. I mean, Team USA just didn't look like they were having fun. It's like they were taking it so seriously. Like this is an incredible event. Everyone's having fun repping their country. I was seeing dance-offs on social media between like Team Venezuela and Team Japan. Everyone's having fun, embracing it, loving it. And Team USA just looked like it was a funeral the whole time. So, yeah, Team Italy is certainly who I was rooting for. I loved what the Dominicans brought to the table. I love what Team Venezuela just did as massive underdogs because I love an underdog story no matter who they are, where they're from. So congrats to them. All in all, this was the most successful World Baseball Classic ever, and it was so damn fun.
Well, and the irony, too, of the U.S. not having any energy is that they rocked the hockey jerseys, and the U.S. men's national team that won the Olympics, they had energy. They had juice. They were a fun story to follow, and they're copying their motion, and it didn't even do anything for them. And I will have to add to this, the funny part with the Italy team that made them easy to root for is you come into the World Baseball Classic and you're thinking like, man, who the Italian team, all these Italian born guys, like, are all these players born in Italy? No, they're just a bunch of Italian dudes from New Jersey that have just peppered that roster. And it made them a little more fun to root for because they were kind of cast-offs to a degree. And that's what made them fun and goofy and a unique story.
I mean, if I knew we were opening with Team Italy, I would have not worn this shirt. I would have worn a black tank top instead coming on here. Yeah, it was like Massapequa, Staten Island, New Jersey, some suburbs of Illinois. It was great. You had Antonacci and Caglione and Pasquantino and just so much fun despite maybe two guys, maybe three on the team actually being from Italy. But it had me wondering, I saw this one guy, Alex Jacob, super Italian last name there, right? I saw him come out of the bullpen and he threw a 69 mile per hour slider. And I'm watching that and I'm like, well, my slider's gotten up into like the 74, 75 range. Maybe in 3 years, 2029.
Call.
That's what I'm saying, man. What am I going to be in 2029? At this time, I'll be 30. Maybe I go out there and I try out. I'll wear my old Piazza jersey, 2 sizes too small, because that's how we rock it. And maybe I'll see if that slider and that splitter is still a good 1-2 combo.
Well, I'll hold you to that. I'll make sure to keep you in line for trying out for the Italian team. But of course, we're here to talk about expectations for the 2026 season for a lot of sports fans that maybe haven't been paying attention. There's a lot going on for this upcoming season. I want to start with the impending lockout. It felt like as I've been trying to get more inundated and caught up, there's just this doom and gloom mentality with the lockout. And I don't think many people understand what's about to happen. It's not going to happen at the beginning of the year. It would happen immediately following the 2026 season. It's going to get brought up a ton. But could you just help the casual fan understand what this means and why we're slowly marching towards it?
Yeah, how ironic, right? Baseball is on literally the top of the world right now. They're doing a great job globally with that World Baseball Classic. Yeah. Yet right here where the game was invented, Major League Baseball could not be dropping the ball in any of a worse fashion at the moment with this lockout. So kind of ironic when you look at how much of a success the World Baseball Classic just was. Look, here's the deal. It comes down to a variety of things. One of them, just at the end of the day, and this applies to baseball and this applies to many other realms in life, is greed. You get these owners and they all want to say that they own a team and enjoy the benefits and reap the rewards of being a Major League Baseball team or professional sports franchise owner. But at the end of the day, not all of them want to pony up and pay their guys and put a winning product out on the field. And that is a big problem when you have a select few who are willing to do so. The Dodgers, the Phillies, the Yankees, the Mets, the Red Sox. So right now, all of these, or maybe 2/3 of these owners, we'll say approximately, hate what the Dodgers are doing, right? And the Dodgers are going out there and quite literally just buying anyone they want. Yamamoto coming over from Japan, you're signed. Blake Snell, come on in. Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, this offseason, Kyle Tucker and Edwin Diaz to fortify what was a really weak bullpen a year ago. The Dodgers are just doing whatever they want. And their payroll last year, opening day, was second actually to the Mets. A lot of people think it was first. It was $321 million on opening day 2025. This year it's projected to be just under $400 million and far and away the most expensive in baseball. So when you look at the disparity, this year you're going to have, at least per the projections, 5 teams with payrolls between $280 million and $400 million. And then you're going to have 7 teams projected to come in under $100 million. So that's a big problem, right? Every other sport has a salary cap, NFL, NBA, and there's, a range. Not everyone meets that salary cap, but there's much less of a disparity. Baseball is complicated, though. And I don't believe you can implement a salary cap in Major League Baseball. The rosters are too complex. NFL, NBA, how many guys are going to be on. NBA has 1 minor league team. Usually each team has 1 G League squad. In baseball, you could have 5, 6, 7 minor league teams. You've got your 26-man roster, and then you've got your 40-man roster. It's too complex, complicated, and large of a roster, I believe, to implement a hard salary cap. So I think that there could be a compromise here. One of them is actually not a salary cap, but a salary floor. And this is, I think, what would benefit the players and what the players would fight for. I think you need to look at teams like Pittsburgh and the White Sox and the Rockies and the Marlins and say, oh, you guys are mad about the Dodgers? Well, last I checked, your owner's a billionaire with a B as well. You need to pony up, you need to spend, and you need to try to put a winning product on the field or sell the team. And I think that a salary floor would force their hand, and you would see more of a competitive balance in free agency. It just wouldn't be a foregone conclusion that Kyle Tucker is going to be a Met or a Dodger. Kyle Tucker maybe would be a Miami Marlin. I mean, think about it too. Like, now the Marlins don't have much of a fan base, but there's other reasons to draw you into Miami. South Beach lifestyle, right? No state income tax. Exactly. You just hit the nail on the head there. So there are other reasons, but no one wants to go there because they know that they're not actively trying to be competitive. They had great young pitching, Edward Cabrera, right? And they just traded him to the Cubs because it's like, well, we're not going to pay him, so we might as well trade him. And that's the mentality that too many owners have. So a salary floor would fix that. It would either force them to spend or sell, which I think would be great for the players and for the fans. Now, I think that the players, would have to kind of make a concession in return. And while a salary cap is not reasonable, I do think something needs to be done about deferred payments. That is a big problem. And that is my gripe with the Dodgers. It's not that they're spending, it's that they're signing guys like Shohei Ohtani to $2 million deals where, the 68 out of 70 is going to get paid when he's 50 years old. That, I believe, is a real problem. Ohtani this year is only making $2 million. What are we doing?
That's awful. Just nuts that that's possible.
So you look at the total deferments on the Dodgers. Ohtani, in all in his entire deal, $680 million is deferred. I believe it's a $700 million deal. $680 million is deferred to be paid between 2034 and 2043. Like, we're getting into the 2040s now. I don't even know if we'll still have a country by then. We might be like a nuclear wasteland by then. Edwin Diaz going to be getting paid until damn near 2050. So Ohtani, $680 million deferred. The Dodgers as a team, Joe, over $2 billion in deferred money. Kyle Tucker added $30 million to that. Edwin Diaz, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, their slew of starting pitchers. They're signing everyone they want, and they're saying, hey, we'll give you a few million now, and then you'll be getting steady paychecks pretty much until 2050. That, I think, is a problem for the competitive balance in today's game. If you're going to sign them, spend whatever money you'd like, spend whatever money you have, pay them the damn money now. And I know deferred deals have always been a deal, but it was like, Bobby Bonilla, the old joke about the Mets. Happy Bobby Bonilla Day. He's getting $1 million a year for 20 years. Cool, that's $1 million. we're talking about the Dodgers deferring over $2 billion. So I'm not saying get rid of all deferments, but I do think that there has to actually be a cap on how much money you can defer, because what you're seeing right now is they're just signing everyone saying, we'll worry about that payment in 20 years from now. And that's a problem.
Yeah, hopefully with all the positive momentum that baseball has had over the past couple of years, it does feel like that there's been increased interest in the sport. World Baseball Classic was a really good example of that. The lockout, with all of those looming issues being tied to it, it would really suck for everything that baseball's built up. And you mentioned the Dodgers here. You talked a lot about their roster construction, all the talent that they have. Right now, they're leading in odds to win the World Series at plus 210. The next closest team is the Yankees at plus 1,000. So there's a pretty big gap there.
Yeah.
Is the answer as simple as me asking you who's the team that you'd pick to win the World Series this year? Is it just, Dodgers, and we don't need to really get into the weeds of it because of the fact that they've built such a juggernaut of a team?
I mean, it's really hard to pick against them. I don't want to see a three-peat. I don't want to pick them to three-peat. But it's really hard to pick against them. And I can't necessarily justify a bet from another team in the National League. So what I'm going to do, because at plus 210, 2-1 odds, essentially, I can't give that play out in good conscience as a value play. There's no value there. Right. I would say invest in Amazon instead of doing that. I mean, you're going to tie up your money for a 2-1 bet for 6-7 months. Like, come on now. That's not something that good gamblers do, is tie up their money long-term for a bet with that little value. So I'll look to the American League, and I will give out a team that I have a ticket on to win the World Series. It's actually the only ticket I have in pocket for the World Series. And at 14-1 a few weeks ago, right around Valentine's Day, maybe a month ago, I locked in on the Seattle Mariners. I love this team. I mean, this team had so much momentum last year. They were a few pitches away from potentially being in the World Series against the Dodgers. And look, we got a great Toronto Blue Jays, LA Dodger World Series. It broke my heart that the Toronto Blue Jays didn't finish it. I really thought they were going to win it. Seattle could have just as easily been there in that World Series. And this team has the pitching that can combat the Dodgers. You're not going to outslug the Dodgers all-star lineup, right? But you can pitch past them. And Brian Wu has emerged as an ace. Logan Gilbert has always had ace stuff. George Kirby is a kid who I've been incredibly high on since he burst onto the scene in about 2023, I want to say. And then that back end, Bryce Miller on his best night, just as good as any of those guys. He's a little less consistent, but he's their 5 starter. And then you have Luis Castillo, a former Cy Young contender who I might be the lowest on of all 5 of those guys. But again, shoot, if he's your number 4, you've got a damn good rotation. The bullpen's terrific, and that lineup is absolutely good enough. Cal Raleigh, we all saw what he did, the big dumper last year. I think he should have been the MVP. Julio Rodriguez in center field out there, one of the best all-around players in the game. And then, they lost Eugenio Suarez, right? But we have to look at what he did last year post-trade deadline. Now, all in all, he had a terrific season. He was really ineffective once he got to Seattle for the regular season. He did have his postseason heroic moments, but he didn't really do much, if anything at all, in the final 2 months of the regular season. So they replaced him with Brendan Donovan, less pop, but more consistent, also a good glove. Randy Arozarena's got an electric bat. Josh Naylor, I thought, was a much more important piece to keep than Suarez, and they did retain him at first baseman. All in all, the lineup is really solid top to bottom. The starting rotation might be the best in baseball, 1 through 5. So I like the Mariners to win the World Series 14-1 if it's going to be one of the other 29 teams.
If there was a team in the NL that you think that could maybe creep up on the Dodgers, and it really just feels so unlikely, but if there was a team that has that shot, who would you say that would be in the NL?
I can't even, in good conscience, really confidently get behind a single one. I mean, I know you're a Phillies fan. I'm a Mets fan, right? I'm actually down on both of our teams. And I'm kind of down on the Braves, too. That NL East, you're looking at 3 teams with win totals in the 88.5, 89.5 range. I think that they could all finish under. You might have an 87, 88 win team atop that division in a rather disappointing year for all 3 of those squads. You look at the Phillies, they've got turmoil in the clubhouse. You've got the Dombrowski, Bryce Harper comments where he pretty much said that Bryce Harper has not lived up to his contract. The Mets, I don't like the offseason that they've had. I feel like they scrambled to make a couple of save our ass, oh crap moves after Alonso and Diaz got lost. But Edwin Diaz for Devin Williams, no thank you. Alonso for Bichette. Bichette's a really talented ball player. A, he's out of position. B, he's got a damn near 50% ground ball rate. Maybe that flies on the really fast turf up in Toronto. I don't think he's going to be a 310 hitter on the grass at Citi Field. And we've seen it in the past. Sometimes a guy playing out of position that creeps over into other areas, other aspects of his game. In this case, maybe his hitting. I don't know. But he's not going to drive in 120 runs like Alonso did. He's not going to hit 40 home runs like Alonso did. So losing Alonso, I think, really was terrible for this organization. Luis Robert, fine. If he's at his peak, he can be really talented, but he is seldom at his peak. The Jorge Polanco signing, I really didn't like whatsoever. It's Lindor, it's Soto, and then it's just a boatload of question marks. The Freddie Peralta move was great. They needed that to fortify the starting pitching. But last year, the Mets were like a top 8 offense in baseball. And while the starting pitching was the problem, and they did make a move to address it, kudos to them for that, but they also let their offense, I believe, get worse. So I'm not buying into the Mets or the Phillies. The Cubs, they add Cabrera. I mentioned the Marlins pitcher before when I was talking about the Marlins' refusal to spend money. But they also lost Kyle Tucker and didn't really replace that bat. I almost combined Bat and Bregman. They did bring in Bregman. It's a terrible World Baseball Classic. I'm not sure exactly how he's going to look for them. Maybe the Cubs would be the best shot in the National League atop there to dethrone the Dodgers. But there's no team I'm confidently looking at in the NL saying, oh, yeah, they're going to pick them off this year.
Joe, this was great getting to catch up with you, and I feel 10 times smarter with the baseball season coming around, and I hope our listeners do as well. Where can people catch you on social media so they can follow along with your work?
Yeah, at Instagram, or on Instagram rather, at Joe Ceraulo, and on Twitter at the Joe Ceraulo. Try to post content daily on there, especially on Twitter more so with the best bets. Instagram, some more fun, creative content there as well.
I can't emphasize it enough. If you want to get into betting on baseball, you guys need to be following Joe. I have plenty of times sat next to Joe at a bar watching baseball games, and he has explained things to me like it made me actually finally understand how the game works, how I should be picking games and whatnot. I fully encourage everybody to go give you a follow. Also, subscribe to Geek'd Up Bets so you don't miss out on any of our content coming up. We'll talk to you folks later.